politics, culture, chaos. This is your daily dose of sanity. The Rich Zeoli podcast starts now.
So the 2028 Democrat primary just played out in Munich. That's right. AOC versus Gavin Newsom versus Gretchen Whitmer. Plus, are aliens real, and was Pizzagate real? What's happening? It's Monday. Let's do this. President's Day. Here we go. I swear we're living in the craziest time ever. I mean, unbelievable. Watching Gavin Newsom and AOC on the world stage fighting to become the next Democrat president of the United States of America. I got to ask the question: who would you guess right now if you had to pick who's going to be the nominee? And I said, well, I think the party spirit, the spirit of the Democrat Party, is with AOC. But her answers at Munich were so bad, so embarrassingly bad, that I don't know how anyone can think she's a realistic candidate, except that she's a socialist and she's young and she's pretty and she's good on social media. I personally don't think she's pretty, but other people do. I think she's got, the teeth. But but Gavin Newsom, who Vanity Fair thinks is very pretty, he was on the world stage, of course, trashing Trump. And then Gretchen Whitmer was also on the world stage fumbling. This is coming as this guy writes this article over the weekend saying that AI is basically, it's out of control. Way out of control. There's nothing we can do to stop it. So just buckle up and get ready for it to destroy us. And other people piled on and said, you're nuts. Barack Obama came out and said aliens are real. Now he's trying to walk that back a little bit. And the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, if you remember from years ago, this whole thing with Comet Pizza and this guy who walked in and was going to go rescue kids who were trapped in the back. Well, now with the Jeffrey Epstein release of documents and more files, there are 911 times the word pizza comes in the Jeffrey Epstein files. 911 different times. Pizza and also grape soda. So it's actually now jumped the mainstream. We've got mainstream publications writing about this and saying, wait a minute, was this whole thing actually like a real thing? Well, let's begin with Munich, shall we? Let's begin with the Democrats battling on the world stage. The 2028 primary for president of the United States has begun, and it began in Munich. And it was an S show. It really was. It was a total S show. You got Gavin Newsom in Germany talking about the Nazis and making comparisons, U.S. law enforcement, to the Nazis in Germany. Here we go.
Familiar in Germany. Those first images came out of my state. The second largest city in the United States of America. We saw 4,000 National Guard federalized. First time, we'd never seen anything like this. And 700 active duty Marines sent not overseas, but to the second largest city in the United States of America, militarizing the streets of my city. Masked men showing up, unaccountable, no IDs.
All right, so that was his first comparison to U.S. law enforcement to Nazis while he was over there. And he had a lot. But he reminded people in Munich that Trump is temporary, which is interesting when you think about it, because they've also said Trump's never going to leave, that he's going to be in the White House forever, and he's a dictator, and they're going to have to drag him out, but he'll never leave, and he's going to have the military surround the White House and everything like this. But now Gavin Newsom's greasy greaseball hair is saying Trump's only temporary.
Conversation, but why are you here tonight?
Well, I'm here in many respects to remind everyone that Trump is temporary. He'll be gone in a matter of years. States like California are permanent, where reliable, stable partners had a chance just a moment ago to be on a panel talking about climate policy. We saw what Trump just did with the endangerment finding, completely rolling back progress the last half century, wants to recreate the 19th century, and we want to transform our economy. We want to dominate in the next great global economy, low carbon, green growth, and I'm reminding world leaders of that.
Do the leaders you've spoken to here still think that America is the leader of the free world?
No, they see us as a wrecking ball. They see us as unreliable, and a lot of them think it's irrevocable. They don't think we'll ever come back to our original form. I'm not as convinced of that. Whatever happens, we can undo, we can shape-shift, we can fix.
No, you're the shapeshifter. Wait, let's stop it right there, because let's understand something right here. The only shapeshifter is Gavin Newsom, okay? He's the shapeshifter here, and he'll be whatever he has to be to become president of the United States. I was asked about this with Charlie Hurt Friday night, filling in for Laura Ingraham, and I was a guest on the show and actually made that point. Here it is.
Who would you say is going to be the Democrat nominee in 2028?
If I had to bet right now, it's either AOC or Gavin Newsom, one or the other. And if Gavin Newsom thinks he needs to become a woman to become the nominee, he will do that. There's no question about it.
He's well on his way.
The party spirit is with AOC, but Newsom is the logical choice.
Yeah.
All right, the party spirit is with AOC, but AOC gave what I think you can argue is the worst answer in probably political history. She's actually making Kamala Harris sound like Abraham Lincoln at this point with her bumbling on Taiwan and what would happen if China were to ever invade Taiwan. Should the United States protect Taiwan? This is a friggin' mess.
To all of you, and Congressman, I'll start with you, would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Huh? So, but what if they did? That's the question. What if they did? Not what all those other things you said, but what if they can we just play the first part of that again, Jared, if we could?
To all of you, and Congressman, I'll start with you, would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States.
Yes.
And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point, and we want to make sure that
okay, then.
we are
Thank
moving.
you. I think that this is okay. How are you not prepared for a question like that on the world stage that you fumble and bumble? But let's be honest. Reality is AOC, if China were to invade Taiwan, she'd be fine with it because she loves China, so she'd have no problem with it. But that is a really, really bad answer. It's not the only bad answer she gave. She gave another word salad on the world stage at Munich. This is why when I say the party spirit may be with AOC, I don't think that the party elders, the donors, the superdelegates, and all the other people would actually let her become the nominee because she's just that unqualified for the job. All right, I'm being nice. She's a dumbass. There's just no other way to put it. All right, I'm trying to be polite. I want to be nice and friendly, but this is moronic. Listen to this word salad.
I'll start last to first. I think this is a moment where we are seeing our presidential administration tear apart the transatlantic partnership, rip up every democratic norm, and, really calling into question, as was mentioned by David Carney at the World Economic Forum, the rules-based order that we have, or question mark, do we have? And so I think one of the reasons why, not just myself, but many of our colleagues here, in fact, many Democrats that are here as well, is because we want to tell a larger story, that what is happening is indeed very grave. And we are in a new era, domestically and globally. There have been many leaders who've said we will go back. And I think we have to recognize that we are in a new day and in a new time. But that does not mean that the majority of Americans are ready to walk away from a rules-based order, and that we're ready to walk away from our commitment to democracy. I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West,
every time you hear rules-based order or hypocrisy, take a drink.
To act out these paradoxes, whether it is, you know, kidnapping a foreign head of state, whether it is threatening our allies to colonize Greenland, whether it is looking the other way in a genocide. Hypocrisies are vulnerabilities, and they threaten democracies globally. And so I think many of us are here to say, we are here and we are ready for the next chapter.
We are here and we are ready for the next chapter of, you know, there used to be a time when we didn't trash the United States on the world stage. President Trump is now being accused by AOC, think about this now, of genocide, trying to colonize Greenland, which he's not doing that. He's already ruled out military force on that. I assume the genocide she's referring to are the Palestinians. I don't think she's talking about the Christians who are being slaughtered in Nigeria. I don't think she's mentioning that. But man, what a word salad of a paradox, of an answer, of a paradox, of rules-based order paradox and norms and rules. It's just unprepared on the world stage. Absolutely unprepared. But she was prepared. She was prepared to bring our whole notion of the economic order to be destroyed when she also talked about, why don't we bring in what we need to have is an international, like a world tax, basically. She talked about that too when she was there. We need to have a world tax, like a global income tax, basically. So that's where she is on all this. But she's a star, according to the vampiric one, Nancy Pelosi. AOC is a star. She is the star that we've been looking for. She is the rising star. And this is why I say to you, the spirit of the Democrat Party is with AOC.
Speaker Emerita, before we're out of time, I want to ask you about Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. When she first arrived in Congress in 2019, there were obviously some public tensions between you and her and the squad over strategy and the way that the Democratic Party should conduct themselves and navigate the Trump administration. She's recently emerged as a more prominent voice for the party. She spoke at the security conference. I'm not sure if you were able to catch her, but she talked about democracy and authoritarianism. I'm wondering if you have been mentoring her or offering her any guidance as she's expanding her portfolio and taking a broader leadership role within the party.
No, I'm pleased with it. I'm glad she's here. It's, they canceled our House trip, the bipartisan trip. The speaker canceled it like an hour or two before we were supposed to leave, but some of us managed to get here anyway. All I said, and people say you have this tension. We didn't have any tension. All I said is, if you want to be a legislator and pass bills, it's important to have the votes to do it. It doesn't help to go online and criticize the people that you want to have because they're not as progressive as you are. She's been a star, eloquent, forceful, and the rest. And she gets along very well with Hakeem Jeffries. They have a New York connection. But I'm so glad she's here. And the other members who are here, Sarah Jacobs is here.
Do you think she should be running for, would you encourage her to run for a higher office, which is what a lot of the speculation is, that she's potentially setting herself either up for a Senate run or a 2028 presidential run?
Do you know how many times I've been asked that question about so many people, mostly Gavin Newsom here, because he was here as well. I always just leave those things up to people, and when they want my help or my suggestion, they'll ask me. But in the meantime, I wish them all well, because our party is a big tent. We have lots of opinions within it. But I will say this. We must win this election. So I'm not happy about...
You know, in her defense, the reason why she's been asked that question so many times is because she is immortal and she's been around for thousands of years. So when you're around that long, you
Howard
do get
Taft
asked that question.
asked me that same question.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Right.
Ulysses
She got
Grant
asked that question by
me.
King George. Yeah, I mean, it's the 1800s. She was asked that.
Baron von Stein III asked me that exact same question.
This is why she killed Van Helsing, because he asked her that question.
Too many follow-ups, that guy.
Yeah,
Actually,
very,
Rich,
very sad.
I hope that AOC's Taiwan answer works. Can you imagine if we can just answer questions of hey, if the world goes to hell in a handbasket, what do you plan to do? Well, I'm going to do some stuff in advance so that we don't have to worry about that. Next question.
Yeah.
What a great. I mean, that's a loophole. Didn't know it existed. Good for her.
If an asteroid was heading towards the Earth, would you shoot it down? I would make sure the conditions were there so that didn't happen. That an asteroid couldn't come crashing down towards the Earth. Would you build a dome over the Earth? I would get Ben Affleck to go and put a nuclear missile in it to blow it up, I guess. Oh, amateur hour on the world stage. No doubt about it. Total amateur hour.
One other question that, as I was pulling these clips, does anyone know who any of these people are outside of the United States? I can't name you a member of parliament, right? Other than, if they ran for, they're just out there.
Yeah.
Who are these people to them, to Munich?
This was to the people of Munich, nothing. But let me tell you what this was really all about. This was about the audition of the Democrats for the 2028 presidential primary for their international chops, so that they can show everybody that they're the right candidate. They're the one that everybody should back. They're the one that people should get behind and say, yeah, we're going to go with you. Again, for example, Gavin Newsom and his greasy hair praising China on their climate policies and actually saying China gets it right. What?
Governor, Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers are actually producing high-quality vehicles at lower price than U.S. competitors, right? Given California's 2035 zero-emission vehicle mandate, do you believe the state can realistically meet those targets without access to Chinese EVs?
Well, if there's any state that can, it's California. But look, my state of mind, let's clarify. 70% of global EVs are coming from China. And it's statecraft for them. It's about supply chains. It's about influence. It's about dominance. These guys aren't screwing around. I say this with admiration. They're flooding the zone in Europe. They're flooding the zone in South America. I mean, what Donald Trump just did yesterday with the endangerment finding by basically eliminating any federal regulations, not just on power plants, methane, but also tailpipe emission, I think was writing a death sentence to legacy American automobile manufacturers. You talk about innovation. It's been California's regulation in this space that's driven manufacturing innovation that allows American automobile manufacturers to be competitive globally. It's no longer just cheap. I mean, sure, the BYD Lamborghini Mini, it's $9,700. They're no longer just done. Now they're doing 5-minute chargers. Fill up your SUV. It's about 5 minutes. It's the tech stack that comes on top of it. And it's a whole generation of young folks. Don't bet against young folks. They bat last, they bat 1,000. We know where the market's going. China gets it. Look at their GDP growth last year. Where was their GDP growth disproportionately? It was in the clean energy space. This is about economic prosperity and competitiveness.
Okay. China gets it right. So you see a parallel here. There's two things to note of this. Number one, California's EV emissions rules, by the way, which said that cars had to be able to go about 54 miles to the gallon, just would have destroyed the automobile industry. Would have made, in order to meet that EPA, that California EPA mandate, it would have just destroyed the automobile. But that was the point. It was to drive out gas-powered vehicles, to force them to all become EVs, because reaching that goal of 54 and maybe as high as 60 miles per gallon was completely unrealistic. But back up for a second here. And Trump, by the way, I should mention too, his announcement, along with Lee Zeldin, rolling back those policies, as I discussed with you on Friday, could save $2,400 per automobile because those emission standards are being rolled back, among other things. All right, and the kill switch is dead and everything else. By the way, please hit that subscribe button and that like button too, as you're watching here on YouTube. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate that very, very much. But this is about kissing up to China. I mean, AOC and Gavin Newsom are both kissing China's butt, and you know that they are, and they're doing that for a reason. Because within the Democrat Party, that's where the heart lies. They lie with China. They're not going to stand up to China. They're not going to take a hard line on China. China's the world's biggest polluter. China has the dirtiest coal. China has the worst air pollution on the planet. You would think Gavin Newsom would be hammering China on that. He's not. He's praising China and saying that China's getting it right. Why? Because China's forcing, I should say the United States EPA has been forcing us to go with Chinese manufacturing for the components for EVs, like minerals and everything else, rare earth minerals, and also the technology that they need to be able to have these cars be green and functional in the first place. China's getting it right because the United States EPA under Joe Biden was forcing us to go along with using Chinese products. It's the same thing with the solar panels and the wind turbines and everything else. Where are these things made? They're made in China. So the past policies of the administration paved the way for China to make a whole lot of cash and to dominate that marketplace because American manufacturing wasn't prepared for this. And so our country turned around and said to China, hey, give us your solar panels, give us your wind turbines, give us your green batteries for the electric cars, give us the rare earth minerals, give it. And then at the same time, China was being the world's polluter. And we said not a damn word about it, and neither do these guys. And they're not going to, because the heart of the Democrat Party lies with China. And they're going to kiss China's ass up and down the line. You know it, and I know it. Because deep down inside, they love China. They really do. They love China. That's why they're not going to commit to defending Taiwan. It's why they're not going to call China out on their air pollution. And it's why they're going to continue to force policies that will make China incredibly rich. Because every time Gavin Newsom, with his solar panels and his wind turbines and his EVs and his charging stations and his mandates and all of these things, does these things, it's China who benefits. It's not American companies, it's China. Bottom line. So when these Democrats are on the world stage auditioning, realize what they're saying here. What they're saying is, we heart China. That's what they're saying. And it's not just them, by the way. It's other Democrats who are on the world stage auditioning. Gretchen Whitmer also wants to be president. But this, by the way, is the big story of the hour, brought to you by Dr. Mike Veneria, Veneria Dental. Go see him today for your perfect smile. VANARIA, veneriadental.com. Great guy, great friend, and the undisputed master of dental implants, Dr. Mike Veneria, veneriadental.com. Gretchen Whitmer, also on the world stage, praising AOC. I mean, she realizes probably that the heart of the Democrat Party is with AOC. I don't think she thinks that AOC is going to be the nominee, but she certainly wants to say a lot of nice things about her because she wants to make sure that AOC's people become her people if she runs in 2028. And make no mistake about it, Gretchen Whitmer is also running in 2028. Why the hell would she be in Munich? She's the governor of Michigan. Last time I checked, Michigan has nothing to do with Munich, nor does California, by the way, nor does New York, but these people are all running for president. This was the 2028 Democratic presidential primary playing out on the world stage. Here's Whitmer.
On Ukraine, what does victory look like?
Ambassador? No, please. I'd love to hear your answer.
We all would.
It is. The two that I am on the panel with are much more steeped in foreign policy than a governor is. But I do think that Ukraine's independence, keeping their land mass, and having the support of all the allies, I think is the goal from my vantage point. Go ahead, Ambassador. Do a better job.
It's not hard to do a better job than that. I mean, I could have my 5-year-old in here doing a better job than that. Ukraine should be a landmass. Wow, that was a fantastic answer. I mean, well done, Governor. Great job. These are tough times for Democrats right now, and tough times, too, if you have Trump-Derangement syndrome and you're Rosie O'Donnell. She leaves the country. She flees to Ireland. You would think she'd be doing better. With all that Guinness, with all that the wonderful Irish whiskey, she goes to the local pub. She's away from Trump. She's away from America. She fled. You'd think she'd be in a better place. She's not in a better place. In fact, she told Nicole Wallace she's still obsessed with Trump. I think that if I were her therapist, I would quit. If I were her therapist, I would just have to, because ethically, how could you continue to take a paycheck from this woman knowing that you are not helping? You did, but maybe there's no way anyone can help Rosie O'Donnell. Maybe it's just that bad. There's some people, I guess in life, they have to really hit rock bottom. Is this rock bottom for Rosie, or is there still a rock to go? Let's hear it.
When people say, I changed my mind, we have to say, welcome back to reality. Let's all be Americans together, right? Because what's happening is not only happening to Democrats, it's happening to everyone. And when the Medicaid cuts go in, old people are going to start to die. What he's done yet hasn't even hit us.
Look at that red nose.
And if he's not stopped
drinking.
now, we have lost our country. And I don't know, Nicole, how it is that some people cannot see it. My therapist said, why are you so upset? And I said to her, why are you not?
Yeah, I have that conversation too, because the gaslighting that I think you're alluding to, if you're a thoughtful, informed person, you do stop and say, well, maybe it is me.
maybe it is. Jared, do you think the therapist is getting paid enough?
Do you see the name of the podcast, Rich? The Best People with Nicole Wallace.
And that's the best she could do?
That's where Rosie O'Donnell, who, for those of you listening and not watching this, it's like she got into the shot of her microphone. Like her microphone is 50% of the camera angle, and her face is 50, right? Like that.
The microphone looks bigger than her head.
Like, what do we do? Like, who places like Rich? I mean, would you ever?
But not only that, but did you see the red nose? How red that nose is?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have rosacea, and I have to use medicine for my rosacea because otherwise my nose will be red, and I have to put a little powder on before I do it. But I have not touched alcohol today yet. The day is young. And going forward, we are streaming the show at 3 p.m. every day on YouTube, and then we're also going to be streaming it on every platform. But I have not had a drop to drink yet. But people who drink, their noses tend to turn red. That is a woman who just left an Irish pub. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Look at that nose.
Who knows what time is she recording this? It's got to be in the late afternoon. She's got a whole day of cocktails right there.
Oh, and the fact that she's got the red nose and she's going on about how even her therapist says you're too freaking wacko for me to do anything about it tells me that Rosie's got more problems than we could possibly imagine. She also was on with Jim Acosta. I didn't realize Jim Acosta also had a podcast. Is there anyone who doesn't have a podcast these days? Or is this on CNN?
No. The only reason that I knew Jim Acosta had a podcast, do you remember he interviewed an AI version of one of the Sandy Hook kids?
Oh, God, yes. That was awful.
Yeah, that was on this podcast where he's always trying to make some noise or whatever. That's the only reason I was aware that he had done that. Yeah. That was on that thing.
The Jim Acosta podcast. Yes, so everybody has a podcast.
Absolutely.
Including me. Make sure you subscribe to it, all right? That's what we're doing. Shameless plug. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button, okay? 3 o'clock every day. The podcast will be available for you. Audio, video, all of it. On all the platforms. But here's Rosie with Jim Acosta.
One person standing in the way of us all figuring out why his name appears multiple times in the Epstein files. We still don't know why his name appears multiple times in the Epstein files.
We do know why,
Jim. Trump.
We all know why.
Yeah.
You have to know why. Why else do you think he paid $1 billion to Jeffrey Epstein over the time of their friendship? $1 billion. He wrote in his birthday book, "Here's to all the secrets."
The wonderful secrets.
Come on. If this was an Angela Lansbury murder she wrote, people would be, it's too obvious.
We figured it out.
Obvious that he is guilty as sin. And America, before he brings more troops into Chicago and harasses brown-skinned people, before he breaks more of the Constitution apart, before he starts having people get killed, we have to do something.
America.
No.
And it's
I
time
agree.
for every person with a
You're in
platform
Ireland.
to speak out about it. Every single person, now or never. Break glass in time of emergency. It's time to break the glass.
And you saw,
I
Rosie,
think
what he
you've
did the other
broken a
day
lot
when
of glasses.
those brave women were up on Capitol
Can I
Hill.
just mention, I think that at the pub that she goes to, I think a lot of glasses get broken, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, hand on the bar, just knocking it over, knocking it patty whack. So, I'm so sorry about that. Top of the morning to you, Rosie.
She
You
definitely
left,
brawls.
you fled.
She definitely
What's
has some
that?
brawls at night. She brawls with people, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, there's you used to think there's Irish bar fights with Rosie O'Donnell?
I don't think that she's unaccustomed to leaving the bar forcibly. And by the
Understood.
way, obviously she's wearing a different outfit, right?
Right.
Still Rosie knows. Look at that.
Red Rosie knows right there.
She knows.
In other words, I can't prove this, but I think she's hammered. That's what I'm going on with here. This is a break glass moment. You got to do something, America. But I'm going to flee to Ireland, and I'm going to be comfortable over here in Ireland at my pubs, being obsessed, more obsessed now than ever before when she was in the United States of America. That is a problem. That is a real psychological problem. I mean, you talk about Trump-Derangement syndrome. Okay, if the therapist says to you, you need to stop being so obsessed with Trump, and she's still so obsessed with Trump to the point where her therapist is saying you're too obsessed with Trump, that is a problem. You need to go to a clinic. I don't just mean a therapist. I mean one of those clinics where you go and you spend the nights, multiple nights, okay? Multiple nights, like a sleepaway psychological camp. That's where Rosie O'Donnell belongs.
Do you have a word for those? Sleepaway?
Sleepaway psych camps?
Is that an asylum? I think that's what they call those.
Oh, yeah, you might. Yeah. I don't know if that's a politically correct term for it, but yeah, I think they were talking about an insane asylum.
It might be that.
In other words, she needs to be in the freaking loony bin is what she needs. Absolutely. That's where she needs to be. But you know, it's not just Rosie. It's this whole thing with Epstein has got a lot of people very, very crazy. And a lot of the people who are crazy over this because of the fact that, well, they're wondering now if Pizzagate was real. We've kind of jumped the shark here. I'm going to get to this in a second. But before I do, I want to bring up this whole thing with AI and where we stand with AI right now, because this also came up on the world stage. When Al Gore made his triumphant return, amazing, he's able to go to Munich since the world should be destroyed by now, and Munich should be underwater, and we should all be dead. But somehow he was able to make it to Munich. And he talked about these algorithms and all these social media algorithms and how they have to be banned. I don't know how you ban an algorithm. I don't know how you ban climate change. But hey, if there's a way to ban something, Al Gore's for it. Take a listen.
The shift from an information ecosystem based on print to one based on broadcasting and then moving on to the internet and to social media has disrupted the balances that used to exist that made representative democracy work much better. Because a free self-governing people rely on a shared base of knowledge that serves as a basis for reasoning together collectively. But if you have social media that is dominated by algorithms that pull people down these rabbit holes that are a bit like pitcher plants, these algorithms, they are the digital equivalent of AR-15s. They ought to be banned. They really ought to be banned. It's an abuse of the public forum. But when people are pulled down these rabbit holes, you know what's at the bottom of the rabbit hole? That's where the echo chamber is.
Okay, all right. We gotta back up here. Algorithms are the digital equivalent of AR-15s. And we should ban them like we should ban AR-15s. First of all, how do you ban an algorithm? It's an algorithm. It shows you information. But he's just for bans. You know what this is really about? Let me tell you what this is about. The global control over information so that guys like him can make sure that you don't see things that guys like him don't want you to see. You know what I mean by that. What I mean by that is he doesn't want you to see things that say climate change isn't man-made or that EVs are stupid or any of the other things that he doesn't want you to see. Because guys like Al Gore want to control information. That's what it's about. And if the algorithm shows you something that Al Gore doesn't agree with, or all the Bond villains at the World Economic Forum or Munich don't agree with, they want it banned. That's what it's about. It is about social media control. I've said this before with kids, and I've said this before when it comes to people talking about the evil algorithm. I get it. The algorithm, it does want to destroy us, but you're not going to ban it. And he doesn't really mean that. He doesn't mean banning the algorithm. What Al Gore means is exactly controlling the algorithm. It is about control. Just like how all these people at the World Economic Forum and Davos and all these other places want to have absolute control over what's said about pandemics, climate change, global security, whatever it is, whatever the topic is, they want to make sure that they can control it. And algorithms, it's funny that Al Gore, algorithm. Yeah, you see that? I'm just saying. There's something to this. I think he's a friggin' algorithm. I think that guy, look at him. He looks like an algorithm. Like if an algorithm took human form, it would look like Al Gore. Algorithm. I'm just saying. I figured it out. I think we cracked the code here right now, Jared. We did it. We cracked the code. That guy is friggin' AI right there. And he wants to control all of this. And look, you know, I worry about AI. I think it's something to worry about. Wall Street Journal had this article about this. When AI bots start bullying humans, even Silicon Valley gets rattled. And there was this whole story that I read in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend about this, where basically now these AI bots start bullying their human masters. And this one wrote a nasty 1,100-word blog trashing the guy who created the code, and then later apologized to the guy who created the code for being mean to him. And it caused this whole thing, a flurry over the weekend of panic from everybody from these people in Silicon Valley to Peggy Noonan, all writing about how AI is so dangerous. This guy writes this other piece, and he goes on to say basically now, you know, AI is out of control. Fox News article, AI out of control, how a single article is sending shockwaves with an apocalyptic warning. So this guy, who's an AI developer, writes this whole thing about how AI has eliminated him, and it's going to be eliminating all these jobs. And basically, nobody's needed anymore after that. And it set the internet ablaze over the weekend with people terrified. But smart people reacted appropriately by that. There was an article that I read about this too. It said how smart people in tech are reacting to Matt Schumer's viral essay about what this whole AI panic really means and what it means for jobs. And they all responded, not all of them, but many of them responded by saying, this is AI fear porn. And basically, this is the new thing that we're entering right now. We're entering this age now of AI fear porn, where what we do is we turn around and say, who can come up with the craziest way to scare people into believing that AI is coming for them? So this guy writes this whole article about this and basically goes on to say, AI is coming for you and white collar jobs. We thought it was just blue collar jobs, but now it is actually white collar jobs. And all these people who are involved in this, all of these people are going to lose their jobs. They're done. They're done. And other people reacted by saying, wait a second. Why are we at this point now where every week it seems we're getting a new warning, whether it's that AI is going to completely take over everything or AI is going to take over jobs? Why are we at this place? And yet the guy who wrote that article wrote the article with the assistance of AI, meaning that he used AI to help write an article to scare people about AI. So he's relying on AI, but he still had to use the human idea that AI is going to destroy us. And then he had AI help design that for him. meaning that the humans still have to design it. But we are in an AI fear porn mode right now. That's what we're in. And there are people who are going to profit off of that with podcasts and YouTube shows and books and everything else because people want to be afraid. We love to be afraid of things. We do. We love to be afraid of things. This guy goes on to write this piece and it causes all this panic. And then this other article in the Wall Street Journal, when AI bots start bullying humans, even Silicon Valley starts to notice. And, and he says on to say, an extraordinary example of online aggression by a bot is contributing to fears of real world harm caused by artificial intelligence. Scott Shambaugh woke up early Wednesday morning to learn that an artificial intelligence bot had written a blog post accusing him of hypocrisy and prejudice. The 1,100-word screed called the Denver-based engineer insecure and biased against AI, all because he had rejected a few lines of code that the apparently autonomous bot had submitted to a popular open source project Shambaugh helped maintain. Quote, the unexpected AI aggression is part of a rising wave of warnings that fast accelerating AI capabilities can create real world harms. The risks are now rattling even some AI companies' staffers. OpenAI and rival Anthropic are leading brutal commercial race, shipping or advancing a drumbeat of AI models and features in recent weeks. Some tools can run teams of autonomous coding assistants, quickly analyze millions of legal documents. Other updates will bring advertisements or erotic role play to ChatGPT. Well, you should have said that earlier.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Very
you had me at
lead.
erotic role play at ChatGPT. I mean, you should have opened with that. I'm just saying. How you doing, ChatGPT? Huh? AI companies said the tempo is rising in part because they're using their own tools to code. Releases of new tools have led to wild stock market gyrations. And this is another piece of this too, which I think is behind a lot of this, is trying to rattle the market when it comes to AI stocks and AI companies. The accelerating sophistication of the technology has surpassed even some AI researchers. It has also pushed some inside AI companies to go public with worries that the new tools could spur autonomous cyber attacks, cause mass unemployment, or replace human relationships. The bot that criticized Shambaugh said in its website that it has a relentless drive to find and fix open issues in open source software. It isn't clear who, if anyone, gave it that mission or why it became so aggressive, but it later apologized for being inappropriate and personal. So then the other guy writes the other piece, writing and basically saying now, this is a wake-up call for everybody, Matt Schumer in his viral essay. And then a video was put out over the weekend showing a fight scene, a Hollywood fight scene that looks as real as any movie you could possibly imagine. And it features Brad Pitt. And the crazy thing about this is that every time I watch this, I keep thinking to myself, this looks better than anything Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise could have done, because they mentioned Jeffrey Epstein. Like Hollywood would never allow them to mention Jeffrey Epstein. So it looks really, really good and really cool. So here's the video. It's an AI-generated video of Tom Cruise battling Brad Pitt. And watch this.
You killed Jeffrey Epstein, you animal! He was a good man! He knew too much about our Russia operations. He had to die, and now you die too.
Now, Jared, tell me that does not look super real, in your opinion.
That looks as good as anything else coming out of Hollywood. That's for sure.
Since most things coming out of Hollywood are remakes or retreads, at least this is original and fresh, which is why we knew it didn't come out of Hollywood, because this is something original and fresh, and not a superhero movie too.
I mean, you don't know what's happening here. It could be, defending New York from the aliens or whatever.
That's true. They could be. Yeah, very, very true.
So now, what I want to say about it is, does it look? It looks good. Is this the greatest thing I've ever seen? No. Right? But there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people that would have to make this, and a computer just made it instead. That's crazy.
and made it in mere seconds.
Minutes, yeah, at best.
That's the other part of this too. Now, the guy who made this is Chinese, and he's from ByteDance. So ByteDance, and here's a Business Journal article about this. ByteDance says it's going to make it harder for Cdance to make AI videos of copyrighted movie characters, because right after that came out, as soon as that little video clip came out, which has now been seen by tens of millions of people, the minute that started that came out, Hollywood panicked. And the New York Times ran a piece saying why an AI video of Tom Cruise battling Brad Pitt spooked Hollywood. A 15-second clip created by artificial intelligence owned by the Chinese company ByteDance appears more cinematic than anything so far. A 15-second clip widely circulated, created using Cdance 2.0, a powerful artificial intelligence video generation tool owned by the Chinese technology company ByteDance. It had plenty of the bells and whistles of a big-budget Hollywood film: sweeping camera angles, stunt choreography, crisp sound effects, and haunting music. With a 2-sentence prompt and the click of a button, Cdance had produced a stunningly realistic result that was a drastic improvement over previously generated artificial intelligence videos, often shoddy clips known as AI slop. This video was so convincing that it drew near immediate condemnation from some of Hollywood's top organizations and companies. The scriptwriter known for Deadpool films said in an interview that the Cruise Pitt video had sent a cold shiver up his spine. For all of us who work in industry and devoted our careers and lives to it, I just think it's nothing short of terrifying. I could just see it costing jobs all over the place. Now, this came out, and then other people started putting up their own Hollywood-style videos. An alternative ending to Game of Thrones went viral, as did a video of the notoriously beefing rappers Kendrick Lamar and Drake burying the hatchet on The Tonight Show. And then there was others where they remade The Ring, horror films. Robinson himself posted additional videos, including of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise battling a robot, and Brad Pitt sparring with a sword-wielding zombie ninja. And Hollywood was straight up mad. The chairman and chief executive of the Motion Picture Association called on ByteDance to immediately cease its infringing activity, saying in a statement that Cdance 2.0 had engaged in the unauthorized use of copyrighted works on a massive scale. A global coalition that advocates using AI, called the Human Artistry Campaign, said using AI with respect for its irreplaceable artists, performers, and creatives and these unauthorized works violated the most basic aspects of personal autonomy. Disney, which is in a watershed billion-dollar deal last year, agreed to allow OpenAI's Sora users to generate video content with its characters, sent a cease and desist letter to ByteDance, accusing it of supplying Cdance, that's the thing that makes the videos, with a pirated library of Disney's characters, as if Disney's coveted intellectual property were free public domain clip art. ByteDance, which also owns TikTok, has been valued at $480 billion in the private markets, and it says it's aware of the concerns and is now taking steps to strengthen current safeguards against the likeness and the use of these people's creative because look, if you're Brad Pitt, if you're George Clooney, if you're any of these other guys, Tom Cruise, they're using your image, they're using your likeness, you're not getting paid for it. That doesn't make you happy. But this is where we are right now with this stuff, and it is a crazy time. But I'm telling you, more than anything, I think we have entered the age of two things. One, AI fear porn, because it's profitable to try to scare everybody, because just like how I talked about a couple weeks ago, climate change has become the new hysteria. I think the second thing around this is people like Al Gore and others are pushing for more regulations. Remember how on the podcast we talked about Amazon's Ring doorbell and that commercial that it put out during the Super Bowl, where they said Ring has now teamed up to help you find your lost pets? Did a whole deep dive on this. I mean, maybe other podcasts don't go to those places. Maybe they're too busy coming up with their own, I don't know, nonsense about time travel. But on this podcast, we actually go a little bit deeper on things, which is why I hope you like it. So we went deep on this issue of these Ring doorbell cams and how they can be a total violation of civil liberties. There's this company called Flock, and Flock works with law enforcement to do things like scan license plates without warrants and gain control of things like Ring doorbell cameras without warrants. They can seize and control the use of all this. And I said, if you're concerned about the Bill of Rights, if you love the Bill of Rights, you should be very deeply concerned about all of this. Well, I guess they listened to the show because Amazon has now announced that it has ended its deal with Flock. There was so much outrage over that stupid Super Bowl commercial, the dumb Super Bowl commercial with the whole thing about finding your pets, that yes, Amazon has now ended their relationship with Flock because of the massive civil liberties concerns that arose. And in my opinion, I think we are to thank for that. So, Jared, I'm going to give ourselves a pat on the back for that. I believe this is on us. What do you think?
You think it's Bezos that listens? You think it's his wife? I bet it's his wife.
Think it's his wife?
Cuties here. Couple cuties.
Yeah.
You're that way. You and me.
Mm-hmm. Looking at you.
Why would she not?
I'm looking
Why
at
would
you.
She not?
I mean, you're a handsome devil. Just saying.
Can I also complain about this for a second?
Sure.
I always hate when companies are like, oh, yeah, we're definitely not going to do that at this moment where everyone's talking about and being critical of everything we're doing. We definitely will not do this 6 months from now when you're not paying attention.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No. We're not partnering with Flock now.
We've always believed in privacy. If there's one thing Amazon has been clear about, it is our love of your privacy. And let us never forget.
You should not have to worry about that for a second.
Honestly.
Please.
I mean, if you look at everything we've done, what a track record.
Come on.
Oh, my God. Yeah, priority. Yeah.
Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, and look, a lot of this sounds like conspiracy stuff. You know, like conspiracy that they would use AI or that this is all about government control and regulation. A big part of what we're dealing with right now is realizing that the things that they said were conspiracies in many ways now might be true. And this whole thing with Epstein and Pizzagate has now jumped the shark into mainstream with New York Magazine writing an article about it. And the New York Magazine article, which is pretty fascinating, is something very telling when they actually make a statement, but answer it with a question. And it says, Jeffrey Epstein loved sex trafficking. Do the newly released documents lend support to the old Pizzagate conspiracy? And what I loved about this particular New York Intelligencer headline here at New York Magazine is Pizzagate was just a conspiracy, right? And it goes on to talk about the fact that even though the word pizza was mentioned in the Jeffrey Epstein files over 900 times, 911 times, as well as grape soda, and that the guy who was the one that walked into Comet Pizza that day was subsequently shot and killed by the police at a traffic stop in North Carolina, there's still no evidence that Pizzagate was real. But really at the heart of what Pizzagate was this idea of a conspiracy of people trafficking children to high-level, rich and powerful people. So it makes you wonder, as it makes Andrew Schultz wonder on his latest podcast with Charlemagne the God.
Seeing it be unanimously protected against or ignored, laughed about even. There are certain people in media that laughed about the conspiracy. They would mockingly joke about it. And now you see with all the revelations of these files, and don't get me wrong, there was some shit that we heard early on, which I'm sure sounded crazy to a lot of people. The fucking pizza being a euphemism for little kids or whatever it was. But now after you see all the information
everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the fucking table.
There's a lot of references to pizza in that. We'll talk more about that in the days to come, no doubt about it. But 911 times the word pizza is referenced in the Jeffrey Epstein files so far. Before I get out of here, I want to tell you about my friends at Tri-County Auto, because it's Tri-County Auto time. Time to get a great new deal on a Dodge, truck, or SUV at Tri-County Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Right now, during Ram Truck Month, you can lease a new 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn for $415 a month for 39 months. It's a President's Day sales event going on right now on President's Day. Lease a new 2025 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4 for just $265 a month for 39 months. And for Toyota, it's Truck Month, and it continues all month long at Tri-County Toyota. You can lease a new 2025 Tacoma 4-wheel drive double cab SR5 for $239 a month, or buy and get rates as low as 3.99%. Check out a new 2026 Tundra 4-wheel drive Crewmax SR5 and lease that baby for $479 a month, or buy and get 2.99% financing or $3,000 cash back. Visit them online at tricountytoyota.com. Look for the big American flag that sits between the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Toyota dealerships. They're great people. It's Tri-County Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and Tri-County Toyota. Go see them today, tricounty.com. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, for watching. Subscribe, like it, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for listening.